Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Reluctant Leader. I am your host, Gajinda Bogle, aka The Reluctant Leader, and today I am joined by a very special guest, Ami Patel. And this conversation has been absolutely months in the making. And I'm so excited to finally sit down and have this chat with Ami. And Ami is a client of mine. And before Ami became a client of mine, I actually didn't know a lot about PCOS and about hormonal health and all of this kind of stuff that you actually talk about today. So I'm really excited to delve a bit deeper into this conversation, delve a bit deeper into your journey to get you to where you are today, and also just to find out a little bit more about the support you give, because I'm sure if I didn't know these things, there must be lots and lots of other people out there that didn't know either. So, Ami, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, letting everybody know what it is that you do.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited for
You're
our
welcome.
conversation today. So, a little bit about myself. I'm a clinical pharmacist, board certified in pharmacotherapy, but my passion for PCOS and hormone health came from my own struggles with PCOS and not getting the help I needed in the Western healthcare system. So, I turned that pain into my passion now to support
Mm.
other women into making their PCOS journey easier and supporting them with their hormone health, their fertility, and helping them achieve their dream of becoming a mother.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. And I mean, for the unversed out there, because I was that one of those people
Oh,
myself,
yeah.
what is PCOS?
Yes, that's right. Let's start with the basics.
Let's
Yes.
start with the basics. What is it?
So PCOS stands for polycystic ovary syndrome. And basically, it's a hormone imbalance that is caused by, well, a few factors contribute to it. The exact cause is still unknown, but some of the factors that can contribute are things like stress, other hormone imbalances like a thyroid condition, inflammation, insulin resistance. But it's a endocrine condition and a hormone imbalance. And a lot of the symptoms can be like visible as well as invisible. So some of the visible symptoms can be things like hair loss, acne, unwanted facial hair growth, difficulty losing weight. And then the invisible symptoms I call like irregular periods, anxiety, depression, eating disorders. That can further develop into things like diabetes, infertility, cancer,
Wow.
other heart conditions. Yeah. So it's a condition that not only affects people on a day-to-day basis, but also has like future complications that can become a result as well.
And how does somebody know if they've even got PCOS?
It's a good question. So the official diagnosis is called the Rotterdam criteria right now. So there's three things that have to, or two of the following three things. So one is having signs of like high male hormones, which is similar to what I described, like facial hair growth, which is what like males have, or like male pattern baldness. That or on labs, you see elevated androgens or male hormones or having irregular periods, which is like defined as more than 35, 40 days.
Wow. Okay. And what came first for you then? Was it your business or your PCOS journey?
My PCOS journey for sure.
Oh, wow. And what was your journey like? What happened to you for you to realize you had PCOS or even go down discovering what it was you had? Can you describe what that was for us?
Yeah, so it started back in, so after got my period for the first time, it was never regular for like 10 years. And I went through different doctors during that time and I got told lots of different things like, oh, it'll become regular after some time, which is true. Like initially for the first few years, it can be irregular when like a young girl starts her period. But after that, it still never became regular. Then another doctor told me, oh, it's just stress. Like once you're less stressed, it will become regular. That didn't happen. Another one told me just take like birth control for 3 months to like reset my cycle, which that didn't work either. And then I finally went to a third doctor and she diagnosed me with PCOS. But then, even at that time, she told me, like, just take birth control to regulate your period, which is not how birth control works. And at that time, I had a lot of acne. So she told me, like, it'll help improve my acne. So, despite like finishing pharmacy school at the time, I didn't learn about birth control in depth in pharmacy school, nor did I learn about PCOS or women's health, hormone health. So I just like was like, oh yeah, that sounds easy. Just take a pill, it'll solve all my problems. I was like in my early 20s at that time. So I was like, okay, sure. And yeah, I just blindly like followed that advice for 7 years. And it did improve my symptoms for a little bit, but then after that, it wasn't doing that as much anymore.
Wow, okay. So then what did you have to do then? You had to then find information out for yourself and
So
explore different avenues.
yeah, and like I learned all this kind of after the fact. Like my doctor didn't tell me that, oh, you're at risk for like all these other health
Mm.
complications. Like she only told me take birth control, and then if you struggle to have kids later, we can give you more meds for that. And that's literally all she told me. I know. And I was like, processing it was, like, so much to process at once. Like, I received my diagnosis, and then you're telling me that I might not be able to become a mother, so it was just a lot at that time, and I wasn't thinking about having kids then, so I don't know. I mean, it's like that seed was planted, but I didn't give too much thought to it, and I kind of, just went on with my life for 7 years taking birth control, and then after that, I was starting to have symptoms again. Like I started to get acne, losing weight, hair growth, difficulty losing weight, mood swings. And so I realized that, like, all these symptoms are related to PCOS. Like I was having
Mhm.
like uncontrollable sugar cravings, which is a sign of insulin resistance. And so then I sought help again from the Western healthcare system. But once again, they did not give me very helpful information. I was constantly told, like, "Oh, don't come off of birth control until you're ready to have kids." And I was like, "Okay, but this is not helping me." And
Yes.
still then, like, I once again had to go through multiple doctors because even though I was like a practicing pharmacist, when multiple doctors are telling you that, like, I started to think, okay, like questioning my own self. And I was like, okay, I need to find somebody who can help me, like, determined that, okay, I'm making the right choice coming off of it. So I finally found a doctor that supported that. But even then, it was still a struggle. And like being Indian and I'm vegetarian, like they told me to go see dietitians, but dietitians didn't really understand my diet. They didn't weren't able to give me like information that I could sustain long term. Cutting out like my cultural foods was not a realistic option long term. So then that was part of it. And so over time, I was like, okay, I need to just take matters into my own hands for my
Yes.
own health. And that's when I started doing like a lot of trial and error, a lot of like, okay, let's try like modifying this food, or let's try like adding more protein, or doing this different type of exercise, or working on my stress and sleep. And then over time, I started to see that my symptoms were getting better.
I love that. And then at what point, I mean, did you think I'm going to help other people with this now?
So it initially started with just feeling really lonely in the journey
Mm.
because, like, even though like I have friends and family that were supportive, they didn't understand what it's like to have PCOS, what it
Yes.
means to live with it, and the struggles that I was facing. And so I just kind of wanted to share about it, as a way for me to kind of like process my journey. And then I realized that it's so common in our South Asian culture as well. Like 1 in 5 women have PCOS, and many of them don't even know that they may have it. And then as a healthcare provider, I saw like so much misinformation about women's health and PCOS on the internet. So that's when I started sharing my journey. I started with like Instagram and YouTube, just kind of sharing my story, how I'm managing my PCOS. And then over time, like people I knew started telling me that they have PCOS, which like we never talked about it, but only because I had started sharing about it, people started sharing that they had it, and then over time, people were like, "Oh, like, can you help me as a healthcare provider because I'm not able to get the help either from the Western healthcare system." So it kind of turned into basically like a business now, but that was not really what I had intended to do. But yeah, so that's
So
how the business found me, I'd say.
yeah, so you never actually intended for it to be a business. Did you ever intend to have any business, or were you quite happy being a pharmacist? And as you said, business just found you.
That's a good question.
Mm.
Yeah, I never thought of that. Like, I mean, I enjoy being a pharmacist and I'm good at it, but I don't think it's as like fulfilling as when I'm like
Mm.
supporting women with PCOS. And so like as I was doing that more and more, I realized like, hey, this might be like actually what I want to do long
Yes.
term and have that impact in women's lives.
I love that. I absolutely love it. And do you know what? And as you said as well, there's not much information out there about PCOS, and I'd never even heard of it. I don't even know if any of my friends or family have suffered from it because it's just one of those things nobody ever talks about. So it's just amazing that there is somebody in the South Asian community that is leading the way for other women to kind of get supported. So then I really want to understand, what are those pivotal moments, even then, while you're helping women on the journey before you started your business, to think, do you know what, I'm going to actually turn this into a proper business?
Yeah, there's a few. So I think first was like you were saying, you may not even know that people have it, and that person might not even know that they have it.
Yeah.
And then there's so much like taboo in our culture. Like literally everything is taboo. Period. Pregnancy, infertility,
All the
mental
things to do
health.
with women.
Yeah, anything and everything. It's like, just pretend everything is perfect. So anything
Mhm.
other than that is taboo, basically. And so when I decided that I wanted to just share my journey and talk about PCOS, my mom also was like, "Oh, why do you need to tell the whole world that you have this?" And I was like, "This is exactly why I need
Why?
to,
Yes.
because like it's not a big deal. It's not something that needs to be hidden, and I don't need to feel like shame for having it. It's like you saying this is exactly why I need to do this more." And so that also pushed me to realize the need for raising awareness and talking about PCOS. And
Yeah.
then okay, sorry, and then there's one more thing. Um, just like feeling really lonely and confused. And I remember there was
Mm.
one time when I was like trying to figure out if I was ovulating or not. And I was like doing these random tests in the bathroom. And I was just like so frustrated. And I was like, okay, is it really supposed to be this hard? Like, we have our periods every month for like most of our life. And why is nobody talking about this? And it's not supposed to be this difficult. Like, God didn't give us periods to suffer for like every month. And that's when I was like, okay, it's not supposed to be like this and it has to change.
And that's
So,
amazing. And then this is why then you are supporting the women that you're supporting on this journey. And
yeah.
how has it been from being very science driven pharmacist, and
Yes.
then shifting to almost like a holistic approach? Because actually, and I know this, I know the insider information that you actually don't want people on medication, and you do everything you can to get them off it and use holistic. How do you balance those two roles of, the Western medicine, pharmacy, and then this holistic approach as well?
I try to think of medications kind of like crutches that we may need them temporarily to
Mhm.
heal or recover from something. But if we continue on them long term, then we're not actually addressing the root cause of PCOS or hormone imbalance. And it's kind of like a band-aid, like we're just taking the medication, we feel better at that time, but when we come off of it, if we didn't do anything to change our lifestyle, then our symptoms are going to come back again. And I support my clients in if they do want to take some medications, I encourage them that, hey, let's have like a timeline that, okay, it helps your symptoms now, but in the meantime, we're going to make some of those changes with lifestyle so that you see the results after you come off the medications. And then if they are planning to get pregnant, then of course, transitioning them off of birth control or other medications that could be harmful to the baby.
And I mean, why do you think it's so important for someone like, you went from doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor. Why is it so important for people to actually get supported by someone like you?
Yeah, well, many reasons. One, I understand PCOS because I
Mm.
actually have it. I went through all the challenges and can make someone's journey easier. It can help them get the results quicker without a lot of trial and error, without having, being questioned and not having their questions answered at doctor's offices or being told different things like, oh, just take birth control, when really you're not addressing the problem. And
Mm.
unfortunately, like women that have been doing that, when they do come to me, they come off of birth control and many of them say, like, oh, I wish I knew. And even I was thinking that, like, I wish I knew 7 years ago. Well, now it's like a lot longer, but I wish I knew when I first got diagnosed that I could do something with my lifestyle to work on and improve my PCOS instead of just taking a pill to help with the symptoms, but not actually addressing the real problem. And now when they come to me and they want to get pregnant, they're kind of feeling like, they're running out of time and they need to do everything at once. Um, so I think that, working with a holistic provider like myself helps with saving people time and addressing the real problem, which helps them not only like get pregnant, stay pregnant, have a healthy like postpartum journey. And it's more about the bigger picture and not just helping with improving like one symptom.
Mm. And I mean, what are some of the challenges that you've faced doing the work that you're doing? Because, I can just imagine you're not just competing with other PCOS healthcare practitioners, you're also competing with Western medicine. And that must be quite challenging.
I think one of the biggest challenges is that as a society, and I think, as humans, we're more into like that instant gratification. And a
Mm.
lot of times we want to like work out today and lose 10 pounds tomorrow.
Oh, it's so true.
And so I think it's having people understand that and shifting the mindset that, hey,
Mm.
like this will take a couple of months, maybe a little bit longer, but the results are gonna also last a long time.
Mm.
And, by the time people come see me, it's like they may have been living the way that they're living for many, many, many years, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Like if somebody gets their period at age 12 and then they're trying to get pregnant at 32, that's like 20 years. So, at like that whole time, if they didn't do anything to address their PCOS, then okay, it's gonna take more than
Mm.
1 month, 2 months, 3 months to actually make those changes, have your body adjust to those changes, and then start seeing improvements in the symptoms like the periods, the hair growth, the hair loss. So I think, the biggest challenge is having realistic expectations for my clients and having them be patient and consistent with the changes so that they see and maintain the results.
And then on the flip side, what's been some of the most amazing things that have happened? Because I think there's been some incredible success stories which have, don't want to take it away from me. What have been some of those amazing stories that make you realize that actually everything you've been through, all the challenges you've been through, make it all worthwhile?
Definitely hearing my clients, seeing my clients make the progress, getting them the results they want, including things like when they tell me, "Hey, I'm pregnant," or
Yeah.
yeah, like, the changes we made. they were difficult, but I see the benefits of it now. Like I'm getting regular periods. My period symptoms are improving. They're not as painful. The length of my periods are improving. And I've had several clients get pregnant and stay pregnant. One of them has a baby right now. One of them is due in a couple months, and then
Oh my
another one is
god.
due later this year as well. So
That is
these are
absolutely
just the most
incredible.
recent ones. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Really excited.
Yeah, and it just makes it so much more worthwhile that it was done in a holistic way around how people want to get pregnant anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, and on that note, if we think about like Western medicine, it's great. It has its role and purpose at times, but if we think about things like IVF and IUI or ovulation induction medications, it's kind of forcing your body to get pregnant when it's not
Mm.
ready to be pregnant. And it can help people get pregnant, but if the root cause or the things that are contributing to PCOS or hormone imbalance are not addressed, then it can be difficult to stay pregnant. It can be difficult to have a healthy pregnancy, and it can be difficult to recover from pregnancy after. So that's why I really encourage people to try holistic changes first
Mm.
before jumping into IVF or IUI. And the changes can be supported through the IVF journey as well, and I do support people with that as well, but it's ultimately thinking about the bigger picture and not just, "I just wanna get pregnant." It's like, "Okay, cool, I can get you pregnant, but why not stay pregnant, have a healthy
Yeah.
pregnancy, have a healthy baby, have a healthy delivery, have a good journey after pregnancy as well."
100%, because there is when you go down the Western medicine route, there is this whole recovery period as well, isn't it? Once you've gone through the process, even once you've probably got the baby, you've still got to recover. Your body has to recover, and chances are
Yep.
you might want a second or a third. And how much can your body take in terms of that pressure that you get from medicine injections and all of this kind of stuff?
Yep, yep, exactly.
Amazing. I think the support you offer is so incredible. And, like I mentioned, before I met you, I didn't even know, firstly, PCOS existed. And secondly, that there was support out there that was actually non medical support as well, which was completely holistic. Now, going back to your kind of journey and your transition. So, you are a pharmacist at the core, at the heart. How did that transition feel? And how was it, going to say, even your parents to be like, yes, I'm a
Mm.
pharmacist, but actually, this is what I'm now doing. How did that feel for you? How was that?
It's I think, thinking about my parents and their perspective of being like immigrants coming to this country, and for them, they had different dreams for me, and for them, it's like, okay, being a pharmacist is more like respectable, and
Prestigious.
yeah, and it's kind of like, okay, you go, you do the work, you have like guaranteed pay, things like that. So for
Mm.
them, it was really hard to process like why I would want to do this and why I want to make life harder for myself, because running a business is a little bit more challenging than you just go work for someone, clock in, clock out, and chill the rest of the time.
Mm.
um, so yeah, I mean, I think they still kind of may not fully understand why I want to do this or why I'm so passionate about it, but for me, I know my why, which is what gets me through the challenges.
Ooh, so what is your why?
My why. Yeah. So it's kind of summarizing, what we've talked about, the fact that what I went through, like my loneliness, my confusion, all the time I like wasted trying to figure out my
Mm.
PCOS, but just helping women address their PCOS without all of the loneliness and confusion and the time that they could spend in trial and error, helping them make their journey a lot more smoother, quicker.
Yeah, and I guess it's giving people the support that you necessarily didn't have when you
Yes.
were starting that journey.
Yep. Becoming the person I wish I had when I
Yeah.
needed it. Yeah.
And I think, one of the key things I've taken from you as well is one of the big things you believe in is living life on your own terms. And I know
Oh.
that's a core value of yours. So, what does that actually mean to somebody? So, what does that whole live life on your own terms actually mean in practice?
Yeah, that's a big question. Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with, as we've been saying, like our South Asian culture, expectations that get put on
Mm.
us as women, and just our culture and things of other women older than us may have done this where they're like constantly sacrificing their time and their health for other people, not prioritizing themselves. And I, for me, like I experienced this that ultimately it led to me feeling just like I didn't know who I was as a person. I didn't know like the things I liked, didn't like, basic things. Like I had my like intuition that I like ignored my whole life. And yeah, all of that led to, things like depression, unhappiness. Like on the outside, it looked like, yeah, I had this great life. On paper, it was like I was doing everything. I checked off all the boxes, like getting married, getting a house. But I was like so unhappy, like really, really, really unhappy and depressed. And then ultimately, I realized like only I could do something for my own life and myself. Like no one else can really do that for me. And ultimately, it led me to make a lot of changes in my life, drastic changes, getting divorced, pursuing business more and stepping back from pharmacy. And that led me to realize that, a lot of women around me, they also are not prioritizing themselves and their health. And for me, I ultimately believe that once we take care of our health and we prioritize that, everything else falls into place. Because when we don't take care of our health, we're not functioning at our best. And therefore, we're not performing well at work. We're not giving our best in relationships. So, and ultimately, all of that starts with our hormone health.
Absolutely. So that then leads me to ask, if you had better support at the start of your journey, do you think you would have had a different outcome?
That is a great question.
Mm.
Yeah, I do think so. I definitely think so because if I had the support I have now, I mean, as in like, if I had the support, if I had the person that I am now that was supporting me at that time,
Yeah.
then I think the journey would have been very different. I wouldn't have been on
Mm.
birth control to start with. I wouldn't have like struggled with all my symptoms. I probably wouldn't have had like mood swings or depression or anxiety. Yeah, I think a lot of different things would have happened in my life, probably.
Yeah, and like all the things that you've described, it sounds like, they ripple out into so many other areas of your life, doesn't it? And you don't even realize that actually the root cause of it is something like PCOS that actually can be
Yeah,
treated holistically, which again then has lots of ripples across your life as well in a positive way.
exactly. Yes, that is
Mm.
very true. And I think that goes, oh, go ahead.
No, go on.
I was just saying, yeah, I mean, that goes back to like our health impacts everything. And that's why I
Mm.
believe that, once we have our health, we can live that limitless life that we want. It allows us to achieve anything and everything we want because we actually feel and are functioning at our best.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does, I've had my own health problems and, I fully understand how important it is to actually focus on your health. And what advice would you give people that are either on their PCOS journey or even potentially have experienced something themselves and now can help other people with that?
I'd say for the first thing, like if someone's on their PCOS journey and health journey, then listen to your body and listen to your gut. No
Mm.
doctor, nobody can understand what you're going through. Only you can understand what you're feeling, and anything you feel is valid. And if you need, get a second, third, fourth, fifth opinion. But trust yourself and your body because your body knows. And the signs and symptoms you see is your body telling you that, hey, something is wrong. Like, if you're getting headaches every day or feeling exhausted or, hair loss, unwanted hair growth, irregular periods, that's your body telling you that something is wrong and it needs to be addressed.
Yeah, absolutely. And reach out for support sooner, right? Rather than suffering in silence.
Yeah, reach out for support sooner. And, fortunately, with internet and things that we didn't have like 20 years ago,
Mm.
you can, like, I have clients that I support all over the world, like Canada, UK, across America. So the resources are readily available a little bit more now. So definitely reach out and be your own advocate.
100%, 100%. And then also, you took the leap. You experienced something yourself and realized there was such a lack of resource and support available in this area, and you took the leap and started to become a leader in it. What about if there's some other people out there that know that they didn't find the support that they needed for whatever they were working on? Is there any advice around them to actually step up into this leadership role and that they can actually own that space and support other people so they don't have to go through necessarily what you guys went through?
Yeah, definitely. I think that we can't change the past and we can't bring back time from the past, but
Mm.
it doesn't mean that the future has to be continued the same way. Because if we realize now that, hey, this is a problem and we decide that we're going to fix it and address it, then, the future can change. So I think that definitely something can be done now and, taking that deciding first that, hey, I do want to make the change for the future and for myself and my health and other people. And like you said, having that ripple effect. So
Mm.
definitely, reaching out for help, making any like support group, things like that, that somebody might find helpful in their journey.
Amazing. And I know you've got a podcast and you've got a YouTube channel yourself as well. Um, so can you give us a little bit more details about these spaces and maybe what would be a really good episode for somebody to go and watch or listen into?
Yeah, great question. I have several episodes about like PCOS to learn more about what PCOS is, as well as like tips on starting management of PCOS, kind of like at a basic level, understanding if you have PCOS and if you do, then 5 things you can do to kind of start addressing it. So I do have those episodes a little bit earlier in the podcast and YouTube channel. So it's available on whatever streaming platform listeners prefer, YouTube, Spotify, Apple. And I do have other resources, like I recently created a free WhatsApp community group because I did feel like even with me supporting my clients one to one, they still struggled like I did to just
Mm.
connect with other people that understood what living with PCOS is without having to explain to someone that doesn't have PCOS that, hey, like, let me tell you for 20 minutes what PCOS is, and you still not completely understand it. But, instead, it's just connecting with other women who truly understand what it's like to live with PCOS and the struggles that we face. Most of the community is mostly South Asian women that are on their fertility journeys to kind of help them with these specific challenges that we face as South Asian women and what it's like to be on the conceiving journey.
Yeah. And what is your podcast and YouTube channel called?
The Holistic Hormones podcast.
The
Yeah.
Holistic Hormones Podcast. And I will share a link down in the
Yes.
description so anyone listening can actually go straight to it. And do you know what? I think it's really, really good because you're just raising awareness, right? Of something that there is not a lot of information on
Hmm.
out there. And talking about information out there, and I want to bring this up because there are a lot of people that are not South Asian,
Uh-huh.
potentially not even female, and they
Uh-huh.
talk a lot about South Asian female health. What do you think about this? And is there a lot of misinformation out there? And how can people make sure that they're actually getting the right information?
Mm, yeah, good question.
It's
I
like, where do
think,
I start with this one?
yeah, that could be a different episode in itself.
Yes.
I think ultimately it kind of goes back to what I was saying, like trust yourself and trust your body. And with PCOS, you will find opposite information for every single thing.
Mm.
Somebody will tell you cut out gluten and dairy, someone will tell you to do intermittent fasting. And then on the flip side, people will tell you not to do those, or will tell you to eat gluten, dairy, and not do intermittent fasting. And it's on extremes, but PCOS is very individualized. Every person with PCOS has different things that contribute to it. They have different symptoms. Management for it is different. And when it comes to other people sharing information and even your doctor telling you certain things, at the end of the
Mm.
day, you have to just trust your body and trust what will work for you. And then also looking at the credentials of people, like what information, where are they getting their information, and what experience do they have if they don't have PCOS, or they don't have any sort of knowledge of actually helping people with PCOS. Then kind of question, what intentions they have, or how valid the information is, and could it cause harm to you if you follow this
Mm.
information and there's no like evidence behind it or proof that it's worked before.
Yeah, that's such a good point because people are misled so much in the name of fame and in the name of money. They're misled so much. And it is up to us as well as end users to really do our due diligence as well to make sure we're investing in the right people, whether it's our money investment or even our time consuming
Yeah.
information from people as well.
And I think, some people are realizing that there's a lot of women with PCOS that are struggling, that are vulnerable,
Mm,
that want to get
yeah.
pregnant. And, they may see that as an opportunity to sell different random vitamins and
Mm.
supplements. That's a different topic as well. But being mindful of where you get your vitamins and supplements and medications. People can just label anything, not everything is regulated. So it's really important to get it from a reputable company that has reviews, that what the ingredients are inside. Don't just take random things because they're cheap, or someone sending you
Mm.
samples, or somebody just created this vitamin that is a one pill that solves all your PCOS symptoms. If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Yes, yeah, it is. And, obviously, if you guys hadn't noticed, Dr. Ami is from across the pond. So you are over in the States. Obviously, we're over here in the UK. And there's different rules and regs, right? So it's really important to
Yeah.
check the regulatory information in whatever country you're in, and make sure wherever you're buying your products and services in from, they really adhere to any kind of regulations that are set because they're out there to just keep you safe, aren't they?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And then I've got a couple more questions before we finish the call. Now, one of my questions, I'm really intrigued about this. One thing I've noticed over the last few years is there's a lot of
Mhm.
people moving out of pharmacy and they're
Mhm.
starting their own businesses and they're doing their own thing. What is this trend?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think a lot of it had to do with COVID and burnout. A
Ah,
lot of it
okay.
is that healthcare providers are like undervalued, overworked,
Mm,
and we're not able to prioritize our health or have like work-life balance,
yeah.
even though we work in healthcare. So I would say that is one of the things. There's a lot of saturation, at least in the pharmacy field, that there's lots of pharmacists, not enough jobs. So I think those are the things contributing to people venturing out. Yeah. And for me personally, it's more of the fulfillment that I get with the work I do now with supporting women with PCOS to get pregnant.
Yeah, and it's part of your core values, right? Living life on your terms. You get to do that
Yeah,
with your business,
exactly.
right?
Mhm. Definitely.
Amazing. And then final question is, what does the future look like? What does the future of your business look like for
Mm.
you? What are some of your future aspirations?
Future aspirations. I definitely would like for everything to grow in terms of support around PCOS, having my community grow, being able to offer more like group coaching so I can help more people,
Mm,
and also be able to um, spread more awareness and resources around like period health, whether it is to create products for underserved communities that don't have the proper like pads, tampons, and even education around
yeah.
period, what the different phases of our cycle are, what they mean. So just proper care around that. And yeah, I'd like to, give a TEDx talk one day on these topics as well. So
I
this is
love
just the
that.
beginning. This is just the
Yes.
beginning.
This is just the start. I love that of me. I absolutely love it. And if there is anyone out there that's listening, maybe they're on a PCOS journey, or maybe they're just inspired by your conversation and want to find out more, what's the best way for them to actually reach out to you?
The best way is to reach out to me on Instagram. My handle is holistic.hormones.pharmacist. Also available through email, hello at dramiPharmacist.com. And then if you go to my website, www.dramiPharmacist.com, then you'll also see the links to my YouTube channel, as well as the podcast, other resources, and courses that I have, as well as getting information about joining the community. So yeah, the best way is email and Instagram, but my website has all the resources as well.
Amazing. That has been incredible. Thank you so much, Ami. Honestly, I've learnt so much. Even though we've been working together for a number of years now, I still find I learn so much more. And it just again deepens the thought that we just need to talk about this a lot more, right? We need to be able to talk about this
Mhm.
kind of stuff a lot more because we have got the next generation coming through as well, South Asian females, and we don't want them to not talk about stuff just like how we didn't. And we didn't know about
Exactly.
this. If our mums were talking about this, we'd be more, better versed in having this conversation. So keep doing what you're doing. I think it's absolutely incredible. I think it's so inspiring. I'm one of the lucky ones. I get to hear as well all the news of all the babies being born through
Yes.
Ami's guidance, which is really incredible. So thank you, Ami. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation.
You are so welcome. And thank you to everybody who's listened in and who's watched us. And we'll see you again very soon for another episode. See you soon. Bye.